Okay, let's begin with this exercise on our previous session of what we have covered in the first lesson of history on who, when, and where. History lesson number 1. Okay, question number 1. You can raise your hands to answer the question. When did Warren Hastings become the Governor General of India? Okay. All right. Yes. Samyak, you can answer the question.
Ma'am, in 1773.
Very good. Okay, let's go to the next question. When did India witness the first major revolt against the British? Please raise your hands. Okay, let me just check. Arnav, you can answer the question. Arnav, you can
1857.
Very good. It is 1857. 1852? 1857 it is. Yes, that's right. Let's go to the next question. Okay, the screen. All right. Next question is, who asked James Rennell to produce maps of Hindustan? We have done this in our previous class. Who asked James Rennell to produce maps of Hindustan? I showed you that video if you remember. Okay. Who had raised? Omkar Shinde, you can answer the question. Yes.
Ma'am, Robert Clive, Robert Clive.
It's Robert Clive. Very right.
Clive.
Robert Clive, it was in the picture description that Rennell was asked by Robert Clive to produce maps of Hindustan. So he was one of the governor generals and he asked him to produce a map of India. Okay, we will discuss this in the, we will discuss this further now after we finish off this exercise. Next question. Who was the first Governor General of India? Please raise your hands. Okay, now Aditi Bhole, you can answer the question.
Warren Hastings.
Very good, Aditi. It is Warren Hastings. Okay, next question is, India's symbol of power is? Let me, okay, please raise your hands and I'll ask you. Now, Amey, you can answer the question. Yes, Amey?
Ma'am, Hindustan Tiranga.
Wrong. It's not Hindustan Tiranga.
Bharat Mata.
It is Bharat Mata. Very true. India's symbol of power earlier in the, if you talk about the 18th century, it was Bharat Mata. Okay. Yeah. Next question is, when did India gain independence? Everybody knows about this. Okay. Many children are raising hands. All right. Shravani, you can answer the question.
Ma'am, 1947.
Very good, Shravani. It is 1947. All right. Next question is, history since time immemorial has been synonymous with artifacts, monuments, ancient people, or dates. Okay. Again, many students are raising their hands. Samyak can answer the question. Or Anant. Anant Pagar, you can answer the question. Anant, you can answer the question. Anant Pagar, you can answer the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which option would you like to choose?
Ma'am, artifacts.
No, it's not artifacts.
Dates.
It's actually dates. The correct answer is dates, because we associate history with dates of important events or the lives of important rulers. So we usually associate the important events of history with dates. So in the old times, dates were very much important. We have studied that in our previous classes also, that how the chronicles, especially during the Delhi Sultanate and during the Mughal Empire, during that time, we have many court historians who were required to maintain a chronogram of how the rulers were, keep a track of what rulers were doing for in the kingdom. Okay, now we'll go to the next question. Yes, next question is, who was the last viceroy of India? Please raise your hands quickly. This time, okay, who's this honor? There is somebody with the name honor. Please take the name also. Who's that?
Ma'am Suryansh.
Yeah, yes, Suryansh. Please change your name to your name also, so that I can identify who you are. Okay, yes, Suryansh,
Yes,
please give the answer.
Ma'am Lord Mountbatten.
Very true, very correct. It is Lord Mountbatten. Okay, next question. James Rennie dash the British conquest in India. He supported or was against. He neither supported nor opposed or didn't know about it. Okay, so here we have 3 hands again raising here. Anybody else? Okay, yes, Arnav, you can answer. Arnav, you can answer the question. Arnav?
I didn't know the answer.
Okay, then
I'm supported.
supported. Who answered this question?
I'm Omkar.
Yes, Omkar. The correct answer is James Rennie supported the British conquest in India. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this this quick exercise, and now we'll begin from where we left off. Okay, in the previous class, I gave you an introduction on how important dates are in history. We began with what is history, what is the definition of history. History is a record of events. It is very much different from a storybook or any other fiction book. And history books are not fiction, they are non-fiction, because they're kind of a chronogram, and they have certain important dates of events, or these important dates are associated with the rules of various important kings and their kingdoms and what they did. So this is how we know what history book is all about. We don't consider it as a fiction, but then we study history in like a story, in a story form. Okay, and why is it important to study history? I asked you this question last time, is because so that we know what we have done in our past. If we have made any mistakes, we can correct them. If we know about our past, we can improve our future. Then the next question was, what are the sources of history? We discussed that in great detail. There are, as you have studied in your previous classes, there are 3 main sources of history. Archaeological or material sources, literary sources, which are further subdivided into secular literature and religious literature, and the third one was oral traditions. Okay, so these in great detail we have discussed about what are the different sources of history. Also, how we divide history. Why we divide history will come to I will explain in great detail in the upcoming sections. What are the different kinds of sources of history? I have already explained you what are sources of history is. Things that the historians analyze by looking at them, by analyzing the textual remains, the monuments, the material remains, or listening to any stories which have been passed down from one generation to another to understand a particular event, and then they write history. They analyze those sources of history and then they write history. Then why history has been divided into time periods? Of course, it has been divided into periods for our own convenience. Just like in a story, you have various chapters. To understand the 4th or 5th chapter, you need to understand, you need to know what happened in the first chapter. So it's like there should be coherence. There should be linking between first chapter to second to third to fourth. Then only you will be able to understand and make sense of what is going on. Just like in a movie or just like in a storybook, if you start reading the story from the middle of the book, you will not understand. You will not be able to make sense out of that story unless you begin from the first chapter of the story. Then what are the traditional sources of history? I have already explained the three main traditional sources. The archaeological remains are the most important ones, because especially when we look at the prehistoric times, because in those times language was only oral, communication was there, but no written writing had not developed. So during that time, we just have some cave paintings, we have the skeletal remains, we have the burials, we have the grains, we have the pottery, we have some kind of caves. So all those are other material remains which the scientists help us by utilizing the carbon-14 dating to finding out the carbon content in those things to find out how old they are. And then based on that, historians write about the prehistory, especially when we look at the traditional sources. So material remains are more important. Then for history period, which is further divided into ancient, medieval, and modern, we do have some kind of a written inscriptions. We have coins. We have various other written sources. So the historians analyze those sources, they go through them, and then they write history. Okay. And the last thing that I explained to you was, what I asked you was, what are the new sources of history? The new sources of history, again, after the Industrial Revolution, I explained you, after the invention of the steam engine by James Watt, there was the establishment of industries, number of industries grew, and mass production increased. When mass production increased, then there was the Europeans, they started looking for markets all across the world to not only to sell their products to earn profit, but to find raw material also for their industries, because there was a development of machines. So now what this led to, with the coming of the machines, we had the coming of the printing press. And when we talk about the printing press, children, we have the newspapers, we have the journals, and then we have the radio communication and telephone and all that. So with the satellite communication, coming of the television. So these are some new contemporary sources. And now in the present contemporary times, we have through satellite communication, we have the mobile phones, we have the internet, TV, radio. So all these give us the information on the current time. So these are all the new sources of history which the historians utilize for writing history. They are not the traditional sources, they are the new sources of history. Children, any questions so far on whatever I have covered so far?
No, ma'am, is advertisement advanced means?
Okay, very good question. I was just about to come to that only, how advertisement can be a source of history. I'm going to come to that only. Any other question? I'm about to start with that part only, advertisements or some pictures. I'm going to begin your next section with that only. See, when you look at some pictures, if we take example of a prehistoric time, we look at a painting, a prehistoric painting, if we are looking at it, they show you some hunting is happening. When you look at that picture, can you tell me what can you make out from a historical painting which has some animals, some tribal people doing something? Can you tell me?
Ma'am, they are daily.
Yeah. Please raise your hand so that I can find out who's speaking. Please raise your hand, children. Okay, Omkar, you want to speak on this?
Ma'am, their daily routine.
Of course, daily routine in like what? If we talk,
I'm hunting.
Ma'am, agriculture.
Agriculture, very
Hunting.
good. And we have some
Hunting.
dancing, dancing images also. They are celebrating some festivals. Yeah. Also, we have, a plan. For example, during the prehistoric times, if we are talking about the Adi Manav or the primates, the women used to do the gathering. They used to go into the jungles and they used to gather food and gather wood to make a fire. On the other hand, men used to make a plan how they are going to go into the forest and they will do hunting.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes. please raise your hand and so that I know who's speaking. Yes. Yes, you can speak, Peter. Yes, any questions? Shall I proceed? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now when I was giving you the example of the painting from prehistoric cave, it could be a plan also, that how we are going to plan a hunt. So they will draw it on a cave. They'll utilize some material to draw or make a drawing of how they are going to plan a hunt of an animal. So when we look at a painting, a prehistoric painting, so it can give us information in many different ways. Somebody will say that, okay, in this painting we can see that dancing is happening, so some festival is going on. If you look at that painting, okay, there's some hunting, they are showing that how they were hunting, what kind of tools they were using in those times, how they made fire, how they made use of the wheel to make pottery. So these are the traditional sources, and this is how we find out by looking at a picture. Now somebody asked me about the advertisement, so now I'll go to the upcoming section. Okay, here, figure 1. How does the image project an imperial perception? Beta, in your textbook, I'll show you. This is this image visible to everyone? How maps and pictures reflect the bias and perspective of the
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in this image, the first image is of the figure 1. How this image, it shows, it projects an imperial perception. Imperial matlab colonial, matlab ki British perspective. If you very carefully, if you look at this image, these are the people who are standing, are the Brahmins. Okay, and they have a book in their hands, and they are offering that book, they are making an offering of that book to the European. So what they are trying to show here is that the Brahmins are offering the shastras. हमारे जो शास्त्र हैं, हमारे जो हिंदू धर्म में हमारे शास्त्र हैं, तो शास्त्रों की जो किताब है, they are offering it to the European, the Britannia. Okay, so this particular, what do you, when you look at this picture, what do you make out of this picture? And this picture has been made by James Rennell in 1782. What perception of the historian do you get by looking at this picture? Do you think it is true? If we look at it from an Indian historian's point of view, is it true that the Brahmins offered their shastras to the Europeans? Can you agree with that?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
Being an Indian, you will never agree to that. But here we are looking at a historian's perception, because he was supporting the British rule in India. So he will say that we were a superior and civilized community, and the Indians themselves, they offered their textual books. For which purpose did the Brahmins give the shastras? Let me tell you. Here, Robert Clive asked James Rennell to produce the map of India. Now, if he wants to produce the map, he's a cartographer and he has to make a map of India. So he requires some information about the land. So now he asked the Brahmins to give them some information. Here, the Brahmins are offering them whatever they have, whatever information they have about their own country in this picture. So here, what it depicted, an enthusiastic supporter of British conquest of India, Rennell saw preparation of maps as an essential to the process of domination. मतलब अगर इन लोगों के ऊपर राज्य करना है, तो इन लोगों की जमीन का नाप करना जरूरी है, इन लोगों के देश का मैप बनाना बहुत जरूरी है. इसलिए और विलिंगली यहाँ के लोगों ने, यहाँ के नेटिव लोगों ने विलिंगली अपने शास्त्र हमको दिए हैं मैप बनाने की. लेकिन ये उनका परसेप्शन है. ऑन दी अदर हैंड, अगर हम इंडियन लोगों का परसेप्शन सोचेंगे, तो हम बिकॉज इंडियंस बाय नेचर हैव बीन एन इनवाइटिंग कंट्री. We had so many people who came and invaded India, and willingly and with open heart, Indians have welcomed the guests. If you look at the Hindu culture, the guests are considered as gods. है ना, हम बोलते हैं ना अतिथि देवो भव. So when we look at an Indian historian's perspective, this was not, it does not mean that we were getting enslaved here. On the other hand, the Britisher will look at it that they were openly, they were accepting our domination. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any questions on this? You can raise your hands if you have any query. Have you understood? You can say yes if you have.
Ma'am, can
Ma'am?
they share? Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
raise your, you can ask your question. Yes, beta.
Ma'am, the Brahmins from which, ma'am, from that empire can give their personal information about the fort, the weak places also, means strategies, etc.
Yeah, see,
Ma'am, weak place.
you did not, I'll make it clear again to you, beta. Once the Industrial Revolution happened, okay, so the colonists, the Britishers, they were looking for markets and raw materials. Once they came here, and once the East India Company came here, 1600 was the year. The year 1600 was the year when the East India Company, you know, they started coming here for trade, maintaining trade relations in India. Okay, now when they came here, the Indians, usually when we talk about the Hindu culture, the Hindu, as per the culture, whoever is our guest, we treat them nicely, isn't it?
Ma'am, your voice is buffering.
If there is any disruption in my voice, don't worry, because I am recording this audio, this video. I will be sharing it one more time with you. At that time, you can play the video anytime and you will not miss anything. Okay, so don't worry about not being able to hear anything. So I wanted to answer this question. Somebody asked me about whether the imperialists, they gave their own strategies or not. No, of course not, because they came here to conquer our country. Their main aim was to overpower and eventually exploit the resources of our country. So they did not offer anything. They did not give anything here. As per you, you are, by looking at this picture, you are feeling as if the European is giving their book to the Brahmin. No, it is not like that, because the painter, the writer who has made this painting, he has written a description.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I means that Brahmanas are offering their kingdom's information to the British.
Yes, but you did not get it. As I told you, Atithi Devo Bhava is the culture of the Indians. So when they asked for something, they gave it. It was just an information. And why James Renell is showing it in this manner is because James Renell felt that अगर domination करना है, अगर इस देश को control करना है, तो इनके देश का map बनाना पड़ेगा. उनका कितना extent है, उनका कितना information है, तो उसको हमें बनाने के लिए हमें उनकी information चाहिए, उनकी traditional जो भी किताबें हैं, उसके बारे में हमें जानकारी होनी चाहिए. We should be aware about what kind of culture they have. I hope it is clear to you now.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, what is about second picture?
I'll come to that. It is the advertisement. Somebody else asked about the advertisement. It is the advertisement here.
Oh.
It is the advertisement from the of Lipton's tea in the year 1922. Okay. So now the first picture is clear. So this picture clearly shows you bias of the creator, whoever has, James Renell has made this picture. So James Renell का perspective यहाँ दिखता है as a producer of this picture. He's showing the European domination in India, how it is happening. But if what I wanted to convey was, if you look at this picture from an Indian historian's point of view, they may say that the Indians were a very welcoming community of very welcoming people. They believed in Atithi Devo Bhava, so they treated their guests well. So if they asked for something, they gave the book. Yeah, so they are offering shastras to the European. Now I'll come to the next picture here. It is again, this picture is from the advertisement of Lipton's teas in the year 1922. Children, if let me tell you, in the late 19th century, in 1865 and in the year 1878, new forest laws were introduced in India. Okay, अब जब ये forest laws बने हैं और amendments हुए हैं, उसके बाद हमारे देश में plantation agriculture शुरू हुआ. प्लांटेशन एग्रीकल्चर का क्या मतलब होता है? एक स्पेसिफिक क्रॉप उगाया जाता है बड़ी तादाद में, ताकि बिकॉज इट हैज सम कमर्शियल यूज. For example, we have in Assam, we have the tea gardens. So earlier they were large scale forest. Too much of deforestation was done, and over there a specific kind of tree or specific kind of crop was planted because it had a commercial use. Okay, so when I talk about the Lipton's tea in 1922, by that time India was producing the finest variety of teas. Okay, somebody was raising hand. If you have any question, you can ask me. Yes, Anant Pagar, you have a question. Anant, you want to ask any question? Okay, so here, this is an advertisement again. Okay, now when you look at the advertisement, it gives you some information or not. If you think from a historian's point of view, what does it show? All advertisement helps us to understand how markets for new products were created and new tastes were popularized. उससे पहले चाय कोई भी नहीं पीता था. जब चाय को popularize किया, चाय को कैसे popularize किया? With the medium of advertisement. When you advertise about certain product, it becomes popular, and then people start using it. Now, अब उसको popularize करने के लिए जो advertisement बनाया है, even you people, you watching advertisement, you see how the people are behaving, how they are sitting, what are their gestures like, and then people start liking them, and they started accepting that kind of culture. To give you a very simple example, in the old times, in the Indian tradition, as per the Indian tradition, people never used to sit on table and chair to have their meals. Yes, I hope you agree with that. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
पहले हम लोग का जो हमारा जो इंडियन ट्रेडिशन है, हम लोग पहले जमीन में बैठ के we used to eat our food. But then when we look at the advertisements, when people are, if we look at, this culture of sitting on table and chair in an advertisement, we like it, isn't it? And then we start utilizing those things in our homes also. So here also, when we look at this advertisement of Lipton's tea, what not only it is popularizing the product to sell it, but it is popularizing the culture also, the culture of the Europeans. This 1922 advertisement for Lipton's tea suggests that royalty all over the world is associated with this tea. मतलब रॉयल लोग और अमीर लोग ये वाली चाय पीते हैं. अगर ये वाली चाय आपके घर में है तो आप बहुत रॉयल है. Okay? In the background, you see the outer wall of an Indian palace, while in the foreground, seated on horseback, is the third son of Queen Victoria of Britain, Prince Arthur, who was given the title of Duke of Connaught. Okay, you already know, beta, in Delhi we have a place called Connaught Place. Yes, so again, this is a British idea to show that this tea is very royal. Not only that, it is popularizing the system of drinking tea in the evening hours. Indians never had this tradition of drinking tea and sitting on the sofa and drink tea. But then when we look at the advertisement, when it starts getting popularized and when you start liking the beverage, you start accepting the culture also. So when you look at it from the historian's point of view, so it shows the bias on one hand, and it also shows the perspective. Perspective in the sense that the European society was very much civilized. But it doesn't mean that the European society, if people are sitting on table and chairs, so that does it make you civilized? Yes? Does it make you civilized by sitting on a sofa and drink tea? Do you think it is true?
No, ma'am.
Yes, that's very true. So when you are civilized, by drinking a particular beverage in a certain manner doesn't make you civilized. Your behavior only shows when you are kind and gentle and when your behavior is nice to somebody. That is what we call civilized. It doesn't make any difference. So there are cultural differences, but it doesn't make you uncivilized or savage if you follow certain rituals of your own culture. There is no harm in following your own culture and loving your own culture. Just by aping the Western culture, it doesn't make you civilized. If you look at from the point of view of a Indian of an Indian historian. I hope this is clear to everyone about the advertisement, how maps and pictures reflect the bias and perspective of the historian. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
we'll come to the next part of this section. So far we have 5 minutes left, children. Okay, only 5 minutes are left. So let me cover this part also quickly. Why do we associate dates with history? Because history was an account of important events. As I was giving you the example of a storybook. If we start reading a storybook from the middle, then we will not make any sense out of it unless we start reading the story from the first chapter, right? That's why we associate the history with certain important events and dates in the history, and that too if we are giving them importance. For example, when we are looking at Indian history, we first look at the ancient period, the Harappan civilization. Right from your 5th, 6th, 7th standard and then 8th standard, you have studied the series in a certain manner. When you started off in the 5th standard, you studied about the Indian freedom struggle in the beginning. But then we came back to the Harappan civilization, the ancient history first. We began with the ancient history and the prehistory. First the prehistory, then ancient history of India, the Harappan civilization. Then we come to the various kingdoms, the Ashoka period, the Gupta period, the Golden Age, then Harshavardhan. After Harshavardhan, we have come to the medieval period. Okay, rise of new kingdoms, isn't it? Then the invasions of the Muslim invaders. And then we have studied about the Delhi Sultanate. And after the Delhi Sultanate, we have studied about the Mughals. And now in this class, you are going to begin studying about mainly about the colonial intervention, the colonial rule, because after the Mughals, the Mughal Empire declined, it was the British who came to India and dominated. So here, to understand what is happening in today's India, you have to go back to the history of India. And unless you have studied the first chapter, you will not be able to make out what was happening currently was happening. Okay? I hope this is clear to everyone. You can say yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now also it tells you about rulers and their policies.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why certain things happen in a certain manner, isn't it? Why the ruler killed another ruler and he himself got himself crowned as the king. So, and what kind of policies he followed? We have the example of Muhammad bin Tughlaq and his mistakes, 5 mistakes from the previous class, and how his policies affected and enraged the people, and then people disliked him. And then after his after his death, his successor, how he tried to please the people so that he can gain the trust of the people. So this tells us more about a certain policy of those people. So we are giving importance to the king and his policies. We are not looking into the lives of the common people here. Okay, so that's why in history we associate it to some specific dates and events or rulers, their policies and events. Then it is also revolved around important events and rulers' lives. Also, most importantly, children. Now, Abul Fazl has written Akbarnama and Ain-e-Akbari. You all know. He has written the history books. What are these books about? They are about the life of the Emperor Akbar during the Mughal period. Yes, you already are aware he was one of the 9 gems in Akbar's court. You know about Birbal, you know about the 9 gems in Akbar's court. So Abul Fazl was one of the court historians, and he wrote the Ain-e-Akbari and Akbarnama. Now, when he had written the account of Akbar's rule, being a court historian, Sanket, you want to ask a question? Yes, quickly do it, beta. We don't have much time. 1.5 minutes left. Yes.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now when Akbarnama is written by Abul Fazl, because he liked the emperor, because he was one of the court historians, so he will write all the nice things about the grandeur of King Akbar, isn't it? Yes. So from his perception, whatever history book he has written, there will be a bias in his writing. I hope you all agree. Do you agree to this? अगर हमें कोई पसंद होता है हम उसके बारे में अच्छा बोलते हैं ना, Same way, when Abul Fazl is writing about Akbar's policies, his religious policy, about his life, of course, because he was his court historian, so he will write everything. Of course, they will try to maintain the genuinity of certain facts, but they may not be able to, bring light to the negative side of Akbar's rule. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say, children, here?
Yes, ma'am.
So now,
Yes, ma'am.
present day historian. Let's suppose now in the 21st century, a historian is reading the Abul Fazl's text. When he or she is reading that text, they will try to find out the genuinity of the recorded events. ये थोड़े किसी ने कह दिया और हमने मान लिया, isn't it? अब जो historian है वो सिर्फ अबुल फजल के टेक्स्ट को ही रेफर नहीं करेगा, उस समय में किसी